Once upon a time, in a land with big stone palaces and green rolling hills, a very special event took place. Imagine a storybook coming to life with golden carriages, shiny crowns, and music that makes your heart beat faster. For a very long time, a man named Charles waited for his turn to be the leader of his country. He watched his mother, the Queen, do her job for 70 years. Then one day it was his turn. People from all over the world traveled to a big city called London to see something that had not happened in a very, very long time. There were soldiers in bright red coats, horses with braided hair, and crowds of people waving colorful flags. Even though the sky was gray and a little bit of rain was falling, everyone was smiling. They were all there to see Charles become the king. This was not just a fancy party. It was a day of history and big promises. It was a day when an old tradition met a new world. Let us go back to that morning and see how a prince finally became a king in front of the whole world. My grandmother once said that a coronation is not just about a crown. She said it is a way to tell everyone what we hope will happen in the future. She was crowned a very long time ago when she was a young woman. Now she is watching us from heaven with a big happy smile on her face. I know she would be a very proud mother today. On May 6, 2022, Charles had his own big day. It had been almost 70 years since his mother had her coronation. The ceremony was very emotional. When the choir sang and the people shouted, "God save the King," their voices were so strong and loud. It really felt like everyone meant it from the bottom of their hearts. For Charles, this was an extraordinary moment that he would never forget. Most people thought about the crowning of Charles and the crowning of Camilla in two different ways. Everyone always expected Charles to be the king one day because he was the oldest son. He had been getting ready for this for his whole life. But with Camilla, things were a little bit different. It was only a short time ago that people started to get used to the idea of calling her Queen Camilla. Recently, the king we see on television and in the streets looks a lot like the man I know in private. It is very interesting to see how he and Camilla are becoming more comfortable and confident. They are showing the world who they really are when the cameras are not watching. The big day was full of British tradition and fancy shows. The whole world was watching as the parade moved through the streets. There were so many soldiers and horses. It was a giant display of what we call pomp and pageantry. There were ranks of musicians playing drums and trumpets and many people riding on horseback. It was a great reminder that Britain knows how to put on a very big and beautiful show. Charles and Camilla sat in their special carriage. They waved their hands at all the people who had come to see them. They were doing what they do best, which is being there for the public and showing leadership. The parade was the biggest one in 70 years. It was full of old things from history that are worth a lot of money. The coronation was a spectacular sight to see because history was being made right in front of us. I always thought Charles would be a wonderful king because he is a person who cares a lot about things. He waited and waited for a very long time to get this job. I think he probably felt a mix of being a little bit scared and very excited at the same time. He had given this a lot of thought for many years, and now he finally had to do the work. On the morning of the big day, everyone was waiting with excitement. People had traveled from very far away. Some people even slept in tents along the road just so they could get a good view of the king's carriage. They wanted to see the parade go from Buckingham Palace to a big old church called Westminster Abbey. The weather was classic English weather. A light rain was falling from the sky, but the rain did not make anyone sad. Everyone was still very excited for the day to begin. It was interesting because it rained on Charles's mother's coronation day and his grandfather's day too. Even though the wet weather can be a little bit gloomy, the crowds kept coming. People started filling up the viewing areas very early in the morning. At 9:30, the very important guests started to arrive at the big church. There was a mix of famous people, leaders from other countries, and members of royal families from all over the world. Some of the people who stood out were the First Lady of Ukraine and the First Lady of the United States, Jill Biden. There were also leaders from many other countries who walked in together. They all looked very serious and proud. At 20 minutes past 10, Charles and Camilla left the palace. They rode in a very special carriage called the Diamond Jubilee State Coach. Even though it looks like something from an old storybook, it is actually very modern. It has air conditioning so the king and queen do not get too hot. It also has special parts under it called hydraulic suspension. This makes the ride very smooth so they do not bounce around on the bumpy streets. It was amazing to watch the gold and red colors shine, even through the gray rain. The colors made the depressing day feel bright and happy again. The parade was a giant event that could not be stopped by a little bit of rain. There was no point in saying the weather was bad and trying to do it another week. You have an amazing ceremony to perform, and you have to do it no matter what. The king and queen arrived at the doors of the big church at nearly 11 o'clock. Usually, the king enters after the queen. If you were watching closely, you would have seen little Prince George. He is only 9 years old, and he is the son of Prince William. He had a special job that day. He was a page boy, and he helped carry the king's long, heavy robe. King Charles walked into the church with loud music playing. This was the start of a 2-hour ceremony. It was a time for prayer and for making Charles the official king. Not long ago, the world was very sad because Queen Elizabeth II had passed away. She was the leader for a very long time. She and Charles were very close. They had a wonderful relationship, and they had a lot of fun together. Sometimes he would call her mommy at public events, and she would make a funny face at him. But they also respected each other very much. He respected her for being the queen and for everything she did. When his mother died, it was a very big shock. When something that big happens, you might act like a machine for a little while just to protect your feelings. Charles dealt with it very professionally. It was the only way to handle such a huge change in his life. The day after she died, it felt very strange to see him return to London as the new king. His mother had made many sacrifices for her job. She was dedicated to being the queen through good times and bad times. Charles is very good at giving speeches. He is almost like an actor from a play. He writes most of his speeches himself and says them with a lot of feeling. In the old days, trumpets would sound to tell everyone that there was a new king. Now we have the news on TV, but they still use the trumpets for tradition. A man stood up and announced to the nation that Charles was now the rightful king. Everyone shouted, "God save the king!" There was a lot of sadness in the country because the queen had been the only leader most people ever knew. Her death was the end of a long chapter in history. The ceremony at the church was beautiful and dramatic, which made everyone feel even more emotional. The choir sang with very strong voices, and it was a very powerful moment. I know Charles will be a good king. He is a person who is kind and compassionate. He cares about the people in his country. He also cares about history and the environment. These are the things you need to be a great leader. He is not perfect, but with Camilla by his side, I think he will be wonderful. She helps him and understands him. The first part of the ceremony is when the king shows himself to the people. This is a very old tradition that has been happening for hundreds of years. The people in the church said they were willing to serve him, and they shouted, "God save Charles." Next, Charles made a big promise. He put his hand on a special Bible that was made by 40 experts. He swore to protect the church and the faith of his country. Then he knelt down and said a prayer that he wrote himself. He asked God to help him be a blessing to all people, no matter what they believe. He wanted everyone to work together in a gentle way. After the prayer, the most serious part of the day happened. This is called the anointing. It is a very holy moment that happens in private behind a decorated screen, so the public cannot see it. During the anointing, they use holy oil. This oil was made in a city called Jerusalem. It was made from olives that grew in a very special place. It smells like roses, cinnamon, and orange blossoms. Charles took off his fancy red robe and stood in a simple white shirt. This was to show that he is humble before God. While this was happening, the choir sang a very famous piece of music called Zadok the Priest. This music is some of the greatest music ever written. Hearing it played loudly in the big church with a full orchestra is something that makes you feel very tingly and excited. The anointing is a very sacred moment. Some people might think it sounds like an expensive spa treatment because of the oils, but it is actually very moving. Seeing this man in a simple linen shirt having these holy things done to him is quite special. On the other hand, some people might think these old traditions are a little bit silly in the modern world. I wonder if Prince William will want to do all these same things when he becomes king one day. He might think some of it is a bit much. But many people love the tradition and do not want to change it. The coronation of Charles was shorter than the coronation of his mother. Her ceremony lasted for 3 hours, but his was only about an hour of the main parts. It was a more stripped-down version, which means it was less fancy than the old ones. After the anointing, the screen was moved away. King Charles was given special clothes and objects. He was given a gold ball with a cross on it called an orb and a special stick called a scepter. Then came the moment everyone was waiting for. The Archbishop of Canterbury took a solid gold crown and put it on the king's head. The crown is very beautiful. It was made a long time ago in 1661. It is covered in 444 sparkling jewels and it weighs 5 pounds. That is very heavy to wear on your head. At exactly 12 o'clock, the crown was placed on him and he moved to sit on the big throne. Then something very touching happened. Prince William, who is the Prince of Wales, walked up to his father. He knelt down and promised to be loyal to the king. He said he would be his liege man, which is a very old way of saying he will always support him. Then he gave his father a kiss on the cheek. Charles looked very moved when his son kissed him. He is a man who loves tradition, and having his son pledge his loyalty was a very big deal to him. People have talked a lot about the relationship between Charles and William. Some people say they have a hard time, but this moment showed that they are actually very close. It was a very powerful symbol of the future of the royal family. It was much different from the relationship with Prince Harry, who was there at the church but did not have a special job to do. William's promise was very serious and meant a lot to both of them. After the king was crowned, it was time for the queen. Camilla sat in a special chair and was also anointed with the holy oil. She touched a special ring with a red ruby and then she was given her own crown. Most people knew Charles would be king one day, but seeing Camilla as queen was something new. For a long time, people weren't sure what her title would be. On the coronation day, you could see that she was a little bit nervous, which is very normal. Anyone would be nervous with the whole world watching them. She did a great job and showed that she was ready for the responsibility. Camilla is a person that many people like because she seems like someone you can talk to. She is not as stiff as some of the other royals. The king you see in public is very similar to the man he is in private. Of course, everyone has to act a little bit when they are at work, but he is mostly the same behind closed doors. We get to see a lot more of their private lives now than we did 30 years ago. We see them in meetings and talking to people. This makes it easier for the public to feel like they know the king as a real person. When Charles was a little boy, he was very serious. He was not loud or boisterous like his father, Prince Philip. He liked to read books and learn things. This was a little bit different for a royal because they are not always known for being scholars. He probably learned to love books from his nannies when he was very young. His mother, Queen Elizabeth, became the queen when she was only 25 years old. She was very busy with her work, so she did not have as much time to spend with her children as some mothers do. That was just how things were in those days for fancy families. Charles was only 4 years old when his mother had her coronation in 1953. He was old enough to remember some of it. It must have been an overwhelming experience for a little boy. There was so much noise, so many people, and so much fancy clothing. He probably started thinking even then that one day it would be his turn to do all of it. The coronation in 1953 was very long and very cold. It rained a lot that day, too. The soldiers standing on the sidewalk were so cold that they were given special sugar cubes with a little bit of brandy to keep them warm. It is hard to know exactly how Charles felt as a young boy seeing his mother crowned. It must have felt like a lot of pressure to know that one day everyone would be looking at him. As the oldest of 4 children, he was always the one who got the most attention. He was the one who was going to be the Prince of Wales and then the king. I think he liked being the important one, but it also meant he had to work very hard. He served as the Prince of Wales for a very long time. It was the longest apprenticeship in history. Some people might think he was frustrated waiting so long to be king, but I don't think that is true. He really enjoyed being the Prince of Wales. He turned it into a real job. He didn't just wait around, he did a lot of things to help people. One of the funny things he did was a weather report on TV. He stood in front of a map and talked about the rain and the wind in Scotland. He was very good at it. He joked about the person who wrote the script because the weather was so bad. He said, "Thank God it isn't a bank holiday," which made everyone laugh. One of the most important things Charles did as a prince was starting the Prince's Trust. He started this group in 1976 because he wanted to help young people who were having a hard time. He wanted to give them confidence and better chances to succeed in life. Over the years, this group has helped more than 1 million young people. That is a very big number. The group now works in 18 different countries. Charles is very proud of what the trust has done. It is one of the things that even people who do not like the royals think is a very good thing. Charles has always been a person who wants to make things better. He once said that he worries about the people in his country. Even if he doesn't always get everything right, he is trying his best. He has given many speeches about things he cares about, like the countryside and the planet. For a long time, people made fun of him because he talked about things like talking to trees and protecting nature. But now we know that he was right. He was talking about climate change a long time before most other people were. He warned us that we were running out of time to save the Earth. He says that the battle against climate change is the biggest challenge of our time. He compares the planet to a sick person. He says that no doctor would wait until they were 100% sure before trying to save a dying patient. We have to act now to help the planet before it is too late. Charles spent his whole life training for his job as king. His education was all about getting ready for this day. Being the Prince of Wales for so long helped him understand the country and the world. As his mother once said, training is the answer to everything. After the ceremony at the church, the new king and queen went back to the palace. They rode in a very old carriage made of gold. Queen Victoria once said that riding in that carriage felt like being in a boat on a rough sea. The crowds were very happy and they cheered for the new leaders. It was a very joyful time, even if it was raining. People were waving their flags and shouting. When they got back to the palace, the soldiers stood on the grass and gave a special salute to the king. This was a chance for them to see their new leader in person. Then came the most famous part of all. The king and queen and their family walked out onto the balcony of Buckingham Palace. Charles looked a little bit tired, which makes sense because it was a very long day, but he also looked very happy. He had been waiting for this moment for 40 years. It must have been a very strange feeling to finally have the day arrive. It was probably a mix of being excited and feeling like it was finally over. The celebrations lasted the whole weekend. There was even a big concert the next day at Windsor Castle. The concert was full of stars like Lionel Richie and Katy Perry. Everyone had a great time dancing and singing. Prince William stood up and gave a very moving speech about his father. He called him Pa and said how proud he was of him. He talked about how his grandmother, the Queen, would be a very proud mother. He said that the main message of the coronation was service. He talked about how his father has spent 50 years helping others and protecting the planet. He promised that he would also serve the king and the country. The weekend was a triumphant time for the United Kingdom. People all over the world watched and celebrated. The coronation was finally complete. Charles was officially the king in the eyes of everyone. It was the start of a new reign and a new chapter in history. Even though things are changing, the old traditions are still there to remind us of the past. King Charles III is now the leader, and he has a lot of work to do. But with his family and his country behind him, he is ready for the journey ahead. God save the king. The coronation was a very big deal for everyone involved. It was a time to think about the past and look forward to what is coming next. Charles has a big heart and he wants to do a good job. He wants to be a king for all people, no matter what they believe or where they come from. The world is watching to see what he will do. It is an exciting time to be alive and see history being made. The gold carriages and the sparkling crowns are gone for now, but the memories of that day will last for a very long time in the hearts of the people. The story of the king's coronation is a story about duty and love. It is about a son honoring his mother and a father being supported by his children. It is about a country coming together to celebrate their traditions. Britain does these big events very well, and this one was no exception. It was a spectacle that the world will remember for years and years. Even the rain could not stop the joy of the day. It was a reminder that some things are more important than the weather. It was a day of color, music, and hope for a bright future. Charles has a lot of experience and he knows a lot about the world. He has traveled to many countries and met many different people. This helps him understand how to be a good leader. He knows that being a king is not just about wearing a fancy crown, it is about serving the people. He has already shown that he is willing to work hard and listen to what people have to say. He is a modern king who still respects the old ways. This balance is what makes him a good choice for the job. As we look back on that rainy May day, we can see that it was the start of something very special. A new era has begun for Britain and the Commonwealth. The king is on his throne and the future is waiting. There will be many challenges ahead, but there will also be many happy times. The coronation was a beautiful way to mark the beginning of this new journey. It was a day of pride and a day of promise. Everyone who saw it will have their own special memory of the time Charles became the king. Prince William's speech at the concert was a great way to end the weekend. He spoke with a lot of love for his father. He reminded everyone that the king has been working for a long time to make the world a better place. He mentioned the prince's trust and the work for the environment. These are things that the king is very passionate about. William's promise to serve was a sign that the next generation is also ready to do their part. The family is united and strong, which is very important for the monarchy. The coronation was a weekend that brought people together. It was a time of unity and celebration. From the crowds in London to the people watching on TV at home, everyone felt part of the story. The music, the parade, and the religious ceremony were all parts of a grand puzzle that came together perfectly. It was a masterpiece of planning and execution. The military, the musicians, and the church leaders all did an amazing job. It was a proud moment for the entire nation and for the king himself. King Charles III has started his reign with a lot of energy. He is busy meeting people and doing his work. He is showing everyone that he is ready for the task. He is a king who is active and involved. He wants to make a difference in the world. With Camilla by his side, he has the support he needs to be successful. They are a team that works well together. The world is a different place than it was in 1953, but the role of the king is still very important. As the years go by, we will see how King Charles III shapes his reign. He will leave his own mark on history, just like his mother did. He has a unique opportunity to lead in a time of great change. His focus on the environment and on young people will be a big part of his legacy. He is a leader for the 21st century. The coronation was just the beginning of what we hope will be a long and happy time for the king and for all of his people. The gold state coach is now back in its special room at the palace. St. Edward's crown is back in the Tower of London. The soldiers have put away their red coats for now, but the spirit of the coronation is still alive. It is a spirit of service and a spirit of hope. It is a reminder that even in a fast-moving world, there is still a place for tradition and for coming together as one. The king is now at work and the people are behind him. It was a truly magnificent weekend that no one who saw it will ever forget. Looking back, we can see how much planning went into every minute of that weekend. From the music to the flowers, everything was chosen with care. The symbols used in the ceremony all had deep meanings. The orb represents the world and the scepter represents power and justice. These are not just objects, they are reminders of the big responsibilities that the king has. Charles understood this, and he accepted his role with a lot of gravity and respect. It was a very solemn and beautiful event. The coronation also showed how much people care about the royal family. Even with all the debates and the controversy, there is still a lot of love for the monarchy. People came out in the rain to show their support. They cheered and they celebrated. This shows that the king has a special place in the hearts of his subjects. He is a symbol of stability in a world that can be very uncertain. That is a very important thing for a leader to be. Charles is ready to be that symbol for many years to come. In the end, the coronation was a success. It went well and it made people happy. It was a moment of light in a sometimes gloomy world. It was a celebration of what makes Britain special. King Charles III is now the leader and he has a bright future ahead of him. We wish him all the best in his new role. May his reign be one of peace, progress, and prosperity. God save the king. The story of Charles and his big day is one that will be told for generations to come. A true tale of a prince who became a king. The feeling of that weekend was one of great pride. It was a time to celebrate everything that the country has achieved. The military display was a sign of strength and discipline. The music was a sign of culture and beauty. The presence of so many world leaders was a sign of respect and influence. King Charles was at the center of it all, leading the way with dignity. He has shown that he is a king who knows how to represent his country with honor. It was a truly grand occasion that showed the best of Britain to the world. We will all remember the images from that weekend. The gold carriage shining in the rain, the king wearing his heavy gold crown, Prince William pledging his loyalty. These are moments that are now part of our history. They are memories that we will share with our children and grandchildren. They are stories of a time when we saw a new king begin his journey. It was a wonderful and extraordinary time to be a witness to history. The coronation was a triumph in every way, and we are all glad to have been part of it. The journey of King Charles III has only just begun. There are many more pages to be written in his story. We look forward to seeing what he will do next. He has already shown that he is a king of action and a king of heart. He has the training and the experience to lead his people into a new era. The coronation was a perfect start to what we hope will be a long and successful reign. We salute our new king and queen and wish them many years of happiness and health in their service to the nation. Charles is a man of deep thought and great passion. He has spent his whole life thinking about how to be a good leader. He has a vision for a better world, and he is working hard to make that vision a reality. His coronation was a celebration of that vision and of his commitment to his people. It was a day of joy and a day of duty. It was a day when the whole world came together to say, God save the king. And with that shout, a new reign was born, a reign of hope and a reign of service for all people. The music of the choir still echoes in our minds. The sight of the soldiers still stays in our hearts. The words of the king's prayer still inspire us. The coronation was more than just a ceremony. It was a feeling. It was a feeling of belonging and a feeling of pride. It was a feeling that we are all part of something bigger than ourselves. That is the true power of a coronation. It brings us together and reminds us of our shared history and our shared future. And for that, we can all be very thankful. Now, as the king goes about his daily business, we can reflect on the lessons of that weekend. We can learn from his commitment to service and his love for the environment. We can be inspired by his kindness and his compassion. We can all do our part to make the world a better place, just as he is doing. The coronation may be over, but the message lives on. It is a message of hope and a message of love for our king, our country, and our world. Long live King Charles III. Charles is a man who knows that leadership is a journey, not a destination. He is always learning and always growing. He is a king who is not afraid to change and adapt to the times. This is what will make his reign a success. He is a leader who is forward-looking and modern. The coronation was a beautiful celebration of his new role, and it was a moment of great hope for all of us. We are proud to have him as our king, and we look forward to a bright and successful future under his leadership. The story of the coronation is a story that will live on forever. It is a story of a prince who waited, a mother who served, and a country that celebrated. It is a story of gold and jewels, of music and prayer, and of love and duty. It is a story that reminds us of the best of humanity and the best of our traditions. King Charles III is our leader, and we are his people. Together, we will build a future that is bright and full of hope. God save the king, now and always. The final salute of the soldiers was a powerful moment. It was a sign of respect and a sign of loyalty. The king stood tall, accepting the salute with dignity. He knew that he was now the leader of these brave men and women. He knew that he had a big job to protect them and to lead them. It was a moment of great gravity and great pride. The military has always been a big part of the royal family, and this moment showed that the bond is as strong as ever. Charles is a king who respects his forces and who is honored by their service. The concert at Windsor Castle was a time of pure joy. It was a time for everyone to let their hair down and celebrate. The music was loud and the dancing was fun. The king and queen looked like they were having a great time too. It was a perfect way to end a weekend of tradition with a modern party. The world saw a king who can be serious and solemn, but who also knows how to have a good time. This makes him very relatable and very human. It was a wonderful way to conclude the celebrations. As we say goodbye to the coronation weekend, we take with us a sense of renewed hope. We have seen a new king take his place, and we have seen a country come together in celebration. It was a time of great beauty and great meaning. King Charles III is ready for the challenges ahead, and we are ready to support him. The future is bright, and the reign of our new king has officially begun. We wish him all the success in the world as he serves his people and his country with honor and love. The coronation was a magnificent display of history and tradition. It was a time to remember the past and to look forward to the future. King Charles III is now our king, and we are proud to call him that. He has a big job to do, but he is the right man for it. With his wisdom and his heart, he will lead us well. The celebrations may be over, but the memory of that weekend will live on in our hearts forever. God save the king. May his reign be long and happy for everyone. The sight of Prince William kneeling before his father was one of the most moving parts of the whole weekend. It was a sign of the deep bond between the king and the next king. It was a moment of love and a moment of duty. It showed that the future of the monarchy is in good hands. Charles and William are a team, working together for the good of the country. This unity is a source of great strength for the royal family and for the nation. We are lucky to have such dedicated leaders to guide us. In conclusion, the coronation of King Charles III was a triumphant and historic event. It was a weekend of joy, tradition, and hope. The whole world watched as a new king was crowned and as a new era began. Charles has already shown that he is a leader of great character and great compassion. He is ready to serve his people and to protect his country. We are all proud to be part of his reign, and we look forward to a bright and successful future together. God save King Charles III. The end of a grand celebration and the start of a wonderful new journey. The world is a very big place, but for a few days, it felt like everyone was looking at one man and one country. The coronation brought us all together in a way that few events can. It was a reminder of our shared values and our shared humanity. King Charles III is a symbol of that unity, and he is a leader who will work to bring people together even more. We salute our new king and wish him all the best as he begins his historic reign. May it be a time of peace and a time of love for all. The gold carriage has been put away, the crowns are back in their cases, and the people have gone home. But the spirit of the coronation remains. It is a spirit that tells us that tradition is important, but so is hope for the future. It is a spirit that tells us that we can accomplish great things when we work together. King Charles III is the leader of that spirit, and we are his followers. Together, we will make history. God save the king today, tomorrow, and forevermore. The reign of Charles III has truly begun.